Hi, everybody, and welcome to the most important podcast ever. I am very, very excited about our show today. We have somebody I've known a long time as our guest. I've wanted to have Luke on since the very beginning. Our guest is Luke Glenna. He's a professional football player playing in Europe in the European Football Association. And he's playing for the Nordic Storm, which is a very, very good team there. And our friend Luke is tearing it up. He's having a great year, and we're really excited to talk to Luke. I've known Luke since he was a youngster. He and my son Joe were teammates and friends in grade school basketball and AAU basketball. So Luke and I have spent a lot of time on the road and had an awful lot of laughs. I always would tell Luke when he was younger that whatever business I ran or any team I ever ran, I would want him on it. Luke is tenacious. Luke is fierce. And Luke is a consummate pro and a great teammate and just an all-around good guy and a great hang, if you don't mind my saying. Good morning, Luke.
Good morning. How's it going? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's going great. Of course, you're in Copenhagen, so it's well into the afternoon for you.
Yep.
And we're really excited to have you. What I'd really love to start off with is, how do you end up in Copenhagen playing professional football, Luke?
Well, it's been a long ride for sure. I grew up in Edina, Minnesota there with your family and with Joe. And from there I went on to play college football at the University of St. Thomas in St. Paul. And we started out there. I was recruited as a Division III safety. I was 7th on the depth chart my first day there and was just committed to getting better every single day. I was surrounded by great teammates and great coaches and put into a great culture there with that football team that instilled a bunch of values in me that I still carry today. Through my time at St. Thomas, we went through a jump from Division III to Division I through the COVID period. And as we rose to a new level in college football, I found myself getting better too, kind of rising to the occasion. And I always found that I played better against better competition. And the big thing for me when I went to St. Thomas was the study abroad program and the opportunities that presented. With the pandemic, unfortunately, I was unable to do that. So after my last season at St. Thomas, I was lucky enough to be named an All-American. And that was something I could put on my resume. And through connections and research on my own, I found this league out here called, at the time, the European League of Football, and created an account on this database called EuroPlayers and mass emailed 250 coaches and teams, or as many as I could find out here in Europe. And it just so happened that Barcelona Dragons was one of, I sent 200 emails and I got 3 replies, and Barcelona Dragons happened to be one of the teams that replied. And I took the chance. I figured 6 months, it would be the equivalent of my study abroad. And now 4 years later, I'm here in Copenhagen in my 4th year and still loving every single second of it.
Before we dive into your European experience, there was no luck involved with you being an All-American. It was well-deserved, and I saw a lot of those games, and you were amazing. And, you say you always rose, right? You play better, rise up against better competition. It's always been your way. So I remember when we play AAU teams, you would always be defending the other team's best guard, and you used to drive them crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember youth football, watching you in youth football. Same thing. And so I just wanted to clear that up. I also wondering if you could share with our audience what the rules are about the makeup of the teams
Yeah. So there's 6 teams in our league here this year. Us here in Copenhagen. There's a team in Munich, Germany, a team in Frankfurt, Germany, a team in Prague in the Czech Republic, then a team in Innsbruck in the Alps in Austria, and then also a team in Paris. So each team gets 50 guys on the roster. You only get 4 Americans on the team. So that's the cool thing about the league to me is they're really trying to grow the game organically through the Europeans. So of the 4 Americans, you only get 2 on the field at a time. So 2 on offense, 2 on defense. You get 6 Europeans from other countries than the one that you are playing in. And then the other 40 guys on the team have to be from the home country. So it's kind of a melting pot of cultures, which is the coolest thing to me because we kind of get to bond through football.
Yeah, I think, and what an education, Luke. I remember when I started traveling internationally for Best Buy, it really broadens your perspective about a lot of things, doesn't it?
Yes, it really does. That cliche too of like being comfortable, being uncomfortable was something that I figured out real quickly over here, with especially in Spain. I'm lucky here in Copenhagen, everyone speaks perfect English in Scandinavia, but in Spain, it was really my Duolingo and my Spanish courses at St. Thomas were coming in handy because I was dropped a couple times having to figure it out.
I I think that is a really important part of stretching uh, your capabilities. Just being in a different environment like that, I think, is so broadening. Do you? Um, so you get the letter, you get the 3 letters, and you land in Barcelona.
Yep.
So you fly to Barcelona. Tell us what happens.
So I finished my last season at St. Thomas in end of November there, and I started reaching out to teams right after our season ended. Yeah, by around Christmas, New Year, I was signed with the Dragons in Barcelona, and I flew out. I think I flew out April 31st that year. So I got there May 1st. And yeah, it was a whirlwind. I didn't really quite know what I was getting into, but that was kind of what excited me the most about it. Growing up in Edina and then going down the street to school at St. Thomas and St. Paul, I was ready to get out of Minnesota, and Barcelona was as far away as I could get. So I was fired up about that. And then yeah, I've always loved football and the locker room and the camaraderie with the guys. So it was something that was really welcoming in that environment, and those guys were great taking me in and knowing it was my first time out in Europe, kind of taking me under their wing to go out to eat, to learn the defense, to go to the gym, all of that stuff. So I had about 5 or 6 weeks there in Barcelona before our first game. So that was training camp and getting acclimated in my new environment and all of that.
And is it? It's obviously a huge adjustment, even though you're very excited about it, right?
Yep.
Did you get any? Were you homesick at all?
I was, yeah, most definitely. I think the 7 hour time change was something to get used to for sure. A lot of times I would call home and no one would pick up because it was the middle of the night, So kind of figuring out that schedule with my family and friends of what times and what days are good to call and not interfering with what my family's doing, them knowing what my schedule is over here. The homesickness is real, but I think I've been blessed. My mom, she's a school teacher back home, so her and my dad both have been out here all 4 years. My mom's actually still traveling in Austria as we speak. She just sent me a picture. She's chilling in the Alps at a beautiful beach right now, living her best life. So the
Uh,
the opportunity for them to come out here every year makes it a lot better too.
oh, I think I know from talking to Les and Wendy. Uh, Luke's parents are friends of mine, and they love going to watch you play. Obviously, I mean, we know how Les feels about watching you play, and Wendy, and I know that they love. Wendy loves the travel in
Yep.
particular. In particular, um, so can I ask you, is there a language barrier with the coaching staff in your first stop?
Yeah. In Barcelona, actually, our head coach was a guy named it was Coach Blackie was his nickname. And Blackie he was from Mexico, our DC and also our head coach. So our defensive meetings, it was me and a guy named Darius Slade, our other defensive American import in these meeting rooms. the rest of the guys were Spanish. So our meetings were actually in Spanish my first year. And I'm lucky that American football is so Americanized. Like a slant is a slant in any country in the world. And you can kind of pick up on like numero diez es rapido, like you figure out that number 10's the fast guy, you know? So I kind of learned more and more Spanish every day because I had to. I was sitting in meeting rooms for 90 minutes a day with all these guys, and it was much easier for us to get the job done in Spanish for the majority to understand it and me to pick up on the context clues as we went. That language barrier was a real thing, and I remember introducing myself to guys on the team that year too in Spanish and them looking at me like I was crazy, like, yo, bro, I speak English, you know, so there's some of those moments too, but I didn't want to ruffle any feathers my first couple days over there. I didn't quite know what I was getting into. But that was the coolest thing. And we could also, playing in the European League, we would communicate on the field in Spanish against the Germans, you know, and we would talk to each other in almost code, you know, because they don't understand the language. So some of those things I catch myself even in games sometimes just like almost pinching myself because I can't believe it's real what I'm doing sometimes. It's so cool.
That's so awesome. So did your Spanish become, are you fluent?
I would say I'm pretty close. I can definitely hold a conversation. I understand it a lot better than I speak it, that's for sure. And I think sometimes I lack confidence. I think I know all the words I need to say, but I'm worried more so about the sentence structure and the grammar, which sometimes slips me up. But I speak it pretty well at this point.
You I have always wanted to speak Spanish and never really had the focus time to do it. I think maybe what I should do is get a job on a football team
Right?
and get forced to that immersion.
Yeah.
Uh, I think that's a really cool thing and a really effective learning mechanism. Um, so differences between so you were in Barcelona and Madrid,
Yep.
and now you are in Copenhagen.
Mhm.
Huge differences.
Yeah, oh, definitely. The Spanish lifestyle is a crazy one. It's very, very chill and calm. People move at a very slow pace from where I was living in Barcelona. I was about 90 minutes south in a little town called Salou, a little beach town. It was a 5-minute walk from the beach, which was amazing. But from 12:30 in the afternoon to 3 p.m. every day, every shop is closed. They call it siesta. So these business owners will close the shade and they got a little bed in the back of their office or their restaurant, and that restaurant is closed for that time to relax. Dinner starts at 10:30. If you're going out to have some fun with the guys that night, if you show up at a bar at 10 p.m., you'll be the only one in there. You know, so everything is just pushed back a little later, and you usually are going home at night when the sun is rising. But in Copenhagen here, I would say it's very different. First of all, I think the bike culture is something that is unlike anywhere else. Maybe Amsterdam is the closest thing, but that is the best way to commute here. That's the best way to get around. So you see people in of all walks of life in suits going to work, babies, kids, families, everyone is biking here. And then I would say the one similarity that I think is interesting between the two countries, between both Spain and here, is the like trust and comfortability that the parents have in like the society. So in Spain, it would be midnight, you're out in the city square and there's little kids and families running around playing. And then here in Copenhagen, you walk past a cafe right now and there will be 3 or 4 strollers outside with babies in them. You know, the parents go in to grab a coffee and they leave their kid in that stroller. So those are things that I caught myself here and I still do every day. Like that is just something that would never happen back home.
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure. That's so interesting. Um, and what a wonderful experience to learn about both these cultures from sort of inside. How were the fans? Is American football popular?
It's definitely growing. I would say Germany has the biggest fan base from the league that I was in the ELF there, my first 3 years in Barcelona, Madrid, and then my last year here. A lot of the teams were brought back to life from the NFL Europe days of the late 90s. So they have a lot of fans from those days, and there's still a lot of passion, and you'll see the old jerseys from them. I mean, I've played in games in Germany with 10, 12,000 people. When I was playing in Barcelona, we maybe had 1,500, 2,000 fans at our games just because it wasn't as big in Spain. But regardless of the amount of people in the stands, the passion that the fans have is a pretty crazy thing. I remember in Barcelona, they didn't know any better. They treated it like soccer, like it was a FC Barcelona match where they're chanting the entire game, whether we're on offense or defense. There are horns, there's drums, there's guys with megaphones chanting. So it's it's really really cool to look around and see how into it the fans are and how passionate they are. And we do a little walk after every game, and we say thank you to all the fans for coming out and take pictures and sign autographs and all that stuff. And it's really really cool to see the support that we get, and it's growing here. This is the second year of the Nordic Storm, so to be here from the start and see the growth from year 1 to year 2 is really cool as well.
That is so interesting. And I think the love fans have for their teams is sort of universal. And I think it's so interesting um, that the sport is catching on. I just read an article about how the growth of the sport in Europe, and I call it American football because if I say football, it's
Mhm.
soccer, right?
That's right. Yep. And in Spain, I would say that I played rugby con un casco, so rugby with a helmet, and that's how they would then understand it.
Which in general seems like a good idea to me.
Yeah, right. But the all the NFL games over here to bring in the game more global, and games out here in Spain and in Germany, that continues to just boost the popularity of the sport.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. Um, and I love that you're there in the thick of it, and not only there, you're there and have a huge presence, which I think is amazing. Tell me, what has this time abroad taught you about yourself?
I think it's taught me that I'm able to adapt to any situation at this point. I feel comfortable that if I got dropped anywhere in Europe right now, I would be able to figure it out. I think the ability to communicate, whether it's with hand signals, with Google Translate, with looking at a map, something like that, using public transportation, all the things that I think initially kind of scared me over here are now things that I almost look forward to and welcome. Opportunities to figure it out. It's just been such a kind of eye-opening experience to see that I really can enjoy a life and feel like I'm living my dream 5,000 miles from home. And every day that I'm here, I get to wake up in Copenhagen, in an amazing city, and I get to do my favorite thing. Football is my number one passion, and it has been for a long, long time. And I think until that isn't my number one passion, I'll still be playing over here. So,
I all the years I've known you, which is a long time now, Luke, it's always been your number one passion. It from the time you were a little boy to now as a grown man and a
yep.
professional, and I think it's so cool. Do you believe that? So you're 6 months there, and are you 6 months back in the States?
Yep. It's about a pretty even 6 and 6.
And tell me, what has it taught you about America?
What honestly, the biggest thing is the work-life balance, is just different. It's life-work balance over here more so than it is back home in the States. I think I had a teammate over here tell me pretty early on that people in Europe work to live and people in America live to work. And whether that's the truth or not, I think it's something that I really thought about for a while. And I think what it's taught me is that back home, like I am able to do whatever I want to do. It's if you put enough work and effort into it and you don't burn bridges and you keep your connections and your relationships, you're able to accomplish what you want to do.
I think that's really interesting and a really good perspective. I'm really curious about how you think about the idea of character over talent. I think, and let me be clear, I think you're very talented, and I always have. But I also think your defining characteristic has been your has been character, has been
Yeah.
your intensity and your will to win. And I admire that so much, and have since you were a young boy.
Mhm.
Um, I'm curious how you think about that.
Yeah. I think I figured out early on, I think earlier than most, that like the importance of finding your role on a team. Um, and in basketball, especially, I remember I was in football too. I'm never the biggest, never the fastest, never the strongest, but I found a way to find my role and really embrace that and find a way to be so good at my role that I couldn't not be on the floor, not be on the field. I had enough strengths to bring at what I did and my ability to bring other people along with me. And as I continue to play and continue to live my dream out here, I find myself in more and more of a leadership role every day, which is really, really cool to me and something that I've welcomed. And my ability to get a bunch of people on the same page or get on a guy if I need to, or see a guy having a tough day and go bring him up. All of those things I think have made me understand how valuable I am to a club out here and also just be a good person. I think I can take so much that I learned from basketball and football, and apply it to my daily life outside of sports. And I see the importance of how much that stuff that I learned through sports matters outside of them too.
I think sports is, and I know I'm preaching to the choir, is one of the greatest teachers there is. I look at my own sons, and there's no doubt there's lessons available to us in sport that aren't available as readily anywhere else.
Mhm.
Um, do you think adversity has shaped you?
Yeah, most definitely. I've been blessed. I broke my collarbone in college, one in 2019, but besides that, I've been remarkably healthy. So no real adversity there, but with I think the coming in college as a seventh string safety, that was a little bit of adversity and not something I was used to. Even in high school, I was never the leading scorer on the team in basketball. There was always a little bit of adversity there, getting people, whether it was coaches, my own teammates, people that watched, to understand that I was good. I think I've always had a lot of confidence in myself, whether that always comes off or not. I've always believed in myself enough to know that I'm out there for a reason to get the job done. But the adversity that I face over here is a little different than growing up. I think there's more sort of the homesickness and the newness of a culture and new teams and new coaches and the travel and all of that. But I think I've found a way to get through it and enjoy the adversity looking back on it. I think the one of the things I always do on my flight home back to the States after the season is go through my camera roll from that year. And it's like a little movie for me. And you see these little pictures and moments arise that at the time I didn't even think twice about, but you look back on them and you see the little lessons that it taught you, and you're able to reflect a little bit on those things and see the trials and tribulations to get you to a point at the end of the year, which is really cool.
I think that is really cool. And I'd love to know, uh, where did you, do you think you were born with this intensity, with this willingness to overcome any obstacle?
No, I don't think so, but I think my first coach in all of my sports growing up, who happened to be my father, was a little bit of an intense guy. I think you know that too. And it was something that I just got used to and I learned to
Yep.
embrace it. And I think that his passion, whether it came out in yelling and screaming or loving up on somebody too, it was something that I saw, and I saw how that could work, to channel it in the right ways. And yeah, I'm a competitor at the end of the day. I hate
Yeah.
to lose more than I like to win. So the intensity is something that naturally I think kind of came with it. As I continued to play, that intensity has became more and more intense.
I want to give our audience a quick Les story. You guys were playing youth football, and I think we were up like 40 to nothing.
Yeah.
And we had a special teams play where the other team scored.
Mhm.
And Les, he's winning 40-7, and he's yelling, "There's nothing special about our special teams."
Yeah,
And
he was going for his shutout.
yeah, of course he was, and I get it. And I love Les, and I I think that there is
Yeah.
unbelievable intensity there.
Yeah. And it
And
was cool too, I think, him being my dad. We would go home from every game together. We would eat dinner together that night, and the dinner table was a lot more fun after the wins than the losses, that's for sure. But I was able to really like break down these games with my dad after every single one in every sport, and my IQ rose through doing that. And I think
yeah,
whether I fully believed what he believed, like the perspective I saw from him and me being able to kind of form my own on how I saw the game was something that I will never take for granted, and I look back on fondly.
uh, of course, because you're your own man, he's his own man, and you pick and choose from all the people you know and interact with. I think that's great, and I think that's pretty cool. Um, I think it's really cool. I've got two last things I'd really love to discuss with you. Actually, three.
Of
Uh,
course.
Advice for young men chasing big dreams, or young athletes, not young men,
Yeah.
young athletes.
Yeah. First of all, nothing worth having is going to be given to you. Your dreams, however big they are, they need to be worked for. You need to understand that the person that, even whatever you're doing right now, there's somebody that would kill to be in the position that you're in. So, first of all, to work your tail off every day at your craft, and not get complacent is a huge thing to me. The second thing would be to research what your dream is. Understand, for me, that was reaching out to 15, 20 players in the league there after my season at St. Thomas when I was first looking at coming over here, and having phone calls with guys from Europe, guys from the States, understanding what goes into life over here, and seeing if I could really picture myself doing it, was important for me too, to understand, okay, if I do work my tail off to get to that point, like, what am I really getting myself into? And then lastly, I would say that just go for it. There's life's too short to second guess your decisions, do anything like that. If this is your dream and it's your passion, go for it.
Love it. I love it. So, what dreams remain for you, Luke? What do you want to do with this football?
Um, win a championship. We're currently 6-1. We got 3 games left in the regular season, and then our championship game is slotted for August 29th, in the Austrian Alps, which is a pretty amazing place to play. It's a breathtaking stadium where you're just surrounded by mountains everywhere you look. So that is something I haven't done over here. And winning a championship, I wouldn't say it would be the icing on the cake because I don't plan on being done playing, but it would definitely be extremely rewarding and a culmination of all the work that's been put in so far.
And someday, many years from now, when you're done playing, what do you want to do? You going to stay in the
I
game?
Yeah, I think there's zero chance I get away from football entirely. I've done a lot of coaching the past couple of years, both like 7-on-7, some individual training. I'm going to do some defensive back coaching with the high school back home when I get back. But I don't know if I will be a college coach, the 70-hour a week football coach, but definitely in some way, shape, or form, football will be a part of my life for forever. I think coaching is something that I take a lot of pride in, and it's really cool to teach somebody, especially a young guy, like a concept or an idea, and you can see them kind of like almost second guess or look at you. And then for them to go out and do it and see the result and the success and the look on their face after is one of the most fulfilling things in the world, almost more fulfilling than myself making the play.
Almost.
Almost.
um, the third thing I wanted to ask was, will you come back each year and keep us connected to what's happening in the league there and what's happening with your career?
Most
I
definitely.
I would love that, Luke. I also would love it if you could send us a link to how people can see your games and how people can follow your story, because I think a lot of people are going to be very interested into our audience. You watch these games, they're very entertaining. If you love football, you're going to love these games.
Definitely.
And then finally, Luke, when football is all over and you're an old guy with white hair, what do you hope people will remember about Luke Glenna?
I think more than anything, I want people to remember me as a guy with strong character, a leader, a guy that brings people together, a guy that's understanding of every talent level where everyone is from. I feel like I've become a very, very welcoming guy on teams over here. I think I've been able to have like an attractive sense to me in terms of people kind of gravitate towards me and my voice, which is something that I've worked very hard to get to. More so than any individual accolade or championship or interceptions and stats and all the plays I've been lucky or blessed enough to make over here. I want people to remember me as a character and a guy of strong character and a guy that brings people together.
I think that's awesome. And that's a great place for us to put a pin in it for this conversation. I do want to say this. One of the things, when you were talking about hard work and dedication earlier, you've also been a very smart player, Luke. You're a smart guy, and you've
Thank you.
really worked hard, not only on your physical skills, but on your mental, your aptitude for the game. And it's so important. And it's why you'd be a great coach. I know you don't want 60 or 70 hours a week, but you'd be an
We'll see.
awfully good head coach, my friend.
Thank you.
Will Europe always be a part of your life?
Yes, I think so. It's something where I've started to think about it too. I've got a couple teammates over here. We have had a couple teammates that are 35 years old, married with children, and getting to see their kids come to the games. I don't know if I will still be playing at that point, but it'll definitely be something when I have my own family someday. I'll definitely make sure to bring them out to all these spots I've been, and it'll be the coolest thing to kind of take a trip down memory lane with them and show them where I was at.
I've got to ask a question that everybody would be curious in. How is it to be a young American professional football player in Europe?
It's cool. I think you get used to eyebrow raise and a maybe question of what is it and if it's really professional and oh you're getting paid to do it, all of those things. But it's never been about the money for me. It's been the experience, and I think the wealth of knowledge I've gained both about myself and the world from being over here in 4 years is crazy. I told myself this was my study abroad trip, and 4 years later, I'm still over here loving it more and more every single day.
And now it's gone from a study abroad trip to become an important piece of your life.
Yes.
I think it's so cool. Luke, I could sit and talk to you for hours. I thank you so much for making the time for us. And I really want people to check out your team and check you out. And I'm pulling for you. And I think we're going to get that championship.
I love
And
it.
I think you should be Defensive Player of the Year. But what do I know?
We'll
Hey,
see how it goes. Thank you very much.
I love you, brother. And I
I
look
love you
forward
too.
to talking to you soon. Okay.
I appreciate that.
Take care, Luke.
Love you, Brian.
That's it for this episode of the most important podcast ever. A huge thank you to my brother, Luke Glenna, and an even bigger thank you to all of you for watching and tuning in. You can check us out on our YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts, and please subscribe. It's free and it helps us out. And I want to thank our team here at Streetside Studio 7. Special thank you to Cassie today on the board. And I want to thank our hosts at Deja Blue House of Coffee. Best cup of coffee in Alexandria. Take care, everybody.